I'd like to start by saying that it's always good for us to hear what the analysts have for us. To a large extent, since I'm actually in the business of actually building mines and all of that, it tends to be different what we see on the ground. And part of the discussion that we're going to have today is with the erstwhile gentleman on the stage right now is that we're going to look at what they are actually experiencing in terms of the projects they're running. Now, we are looking at how the junior miners, the gentlemen on the, here on stage, are actually seeing the market for their different commodities. So we've got different jurisdictions represented here. We've got different commodities. So I believe that the conversation here is actually going to be very fulfilling to everyone here. So without much further ado, I'll start here with a good friend of mine, Tim.
Good morning.
So Tim, as per our discussion, can you just introduce yourself and tell the people about your project, your assets, and the like?
Thank you, Kuda. Morning, everybody. Tim George, CEO of Pensana PLC. We're a London-listed entity exploring and now developing a rare earth mine in the middle of Angola. And for the last 6 years, we've been steadily moving towards a finance solution, which we have announced recently in terms of a fully financed mine and 2 steps of beneficiation in country. And very excited to be moving into the actual main construction phase, although we have been working away at it over the last year in terms of all of the construction camp, the supporting infrastructure, and so on. So it's an exciting time for us in this space. It's an exciting time for Angola in terms of the diversification of its mining industry and additioning this side of things to its oil and gas, which is what they're really known for. So we're very excited at this point in time, in spite of those graphs that were
Yes.
earlier and on the outlooks.
Yeah, we'll come back and touch on that after everyone else has introduced themselves. Anthony, over to you.
Thanks, Kuda. Anthony Viljoen, CEO of Andrada Mining. We're mining tin, tantalum, and lithium in Namibia. We're also listed in London on the AIM Stock Exchange. We're mining in a very exciting region, not only because of politically wise in Namibia, but also geologically wise. The Ronga region is turning out to be a real gem of a geological province. And what we're looking at doing now is also developing our other 2 assets, the Lithium Ridge, which obviously is a very promising lithium deposit that we've partnered with SQM, and then Brandberg West, which is an old goldfields mine that Bernard might recall. But very much on the up in Namibia. I would be interested to hear what everyone rates as a critical mineral, because I think there's a massive disconnect between the understanding of what it takes to actually get a mine up and running versus what the analysts forecast of the incoming supply. So I'd love to hear that, especially from guys like Boris, who's also been through a lot harder pain than I have in building a mine. But yeah, so that's Andrada.
So this audience have got grey hair and no hair. I mean, this is what mine builders look like. I just want to say, think before you join this panel.
Boris, over to you.
I'm Boris Kamstra. I'm with Premier Resources. We are re-looking at a mine that was closed recently. And doing some research on ChatGPT, I came across a statistic which I couldn't believe, so I asked Grok the same question. And the statistic was, what is the probability of a junior miner going from exploration to profitable production? 0.01% is the answer, and they both agree. And if you look at junior mining, you've got to go through a whole bunch of hurdles. Let's assume you only got 3, and you've got a 70% probability of getting over each one. That means you only have about a 35% probability of getting to your end destination. So we've got a unique project in that many of those hurdles have already been crossed. So if you can join something that's crossed the first 2, your probability of success goes from 35 at the start to now 70 because the first 2 are gone. So the BCL operation was a functioning operation. We've got underground infrastructure, we've got shafts, we've got a lot of mining data. We believe the resource is a lot larger than anyone had thought, and our drilling, even as a result, yesterday's announcement shows, continues to surprise to the upside. We've recently been refinanced, and what a wonderful place to be as a junior miner with $46 million in the bank, a new anchor investor. And if the investment community look for only two things, they don't want to lose money and they're terrified of missing out. And the more people of substance in terms of an investor track record and a balance sheet to play with that are in your company, the harder they will look at you, because their fear of missing out starts weighing above their fear of losing money. So we've got Frank Juster as a major shareholder in our company now, and he comes with an armada of very skilled advisors who have turbocharged our efforts. We've got a great drilling program going at the moment. The tons are pouring in. Network is going reasonably well. Botswana, what a great place to operate a mine. Railway right outside my office, power lines overhead, friendly government, police actually help you and don't hinder you, as in other jurisdictions I've worked in. So yeah, we're looking forward to bringing copper, nickel, cobalt, and PGMs to market in the fairly near future.
You know, this dude makes a good point, but his stats is screwed. He should go back to varsity for the stats, adding percentages to. But I'm just saying. But let's go with the key point. It's hard.
It's hard. You can always trust Bernard to have the last say. Fine, over to you.
Yeah. So I'm Pine van Wyk. I'm country director for Forsys Metals. We're a pure uranium play listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. We currently have a single asset in Namibia, and we've had this asset since 2006. And I think, you know, myself being in the uranium industry for more than 20, 25 years, I've seen the cycles, and not all of the juniors, you know, were able to catch the previous wave and actually, you know, get their projects up and running. And Forsys was one of those casualties that I think just took it a little bit too slow, and by the time Fukushima came, you know, the wave was gone, and 2014, 2015, they had to put the project into care and maintenance. It was sub-economic at those depressed uranium prices. So now at least there's new hope for uranium, and you know, Namibia is an excellent jurisdiction, well-known track record. We understand uranium mining, and we are blessed with the infrastructure and the support of our government to be able to move projects forward fairly quickly. So we obviously have the support of the continued rising uranium price, gave us the ability to raise some capital in 2021 and in 2023, and we're now pushing that project forward. We obviously took a step back. I mean, that project had a complete bankable study, fully licensed, and you know, we basically just said, well, you know, they missed the boat back in the days. Let's re-look at what do we have. We're back on a whiteboard. Technology has moved on in the last decade, and we are doing a lot of new exciting things, trying to really optimize our capital costs and our flow sheet, to make sure that by the time that the market is ready, that we can lock in longer term takeoff agreements, that when the price comes down, because everything that goes up must come down again, that we can survive, you know, the cost curve and continue to operate. The challenge for us, obviously, in Namibia is, and I myself had that discussion last night, is we've got these big resources, but man, there's no grade, unfortunately. So it forces us to really think outside of the box, to take these low-grade deposits, put scale to them, and we've learned a lot, you know, through the years of how Rossing used to operate. And I think Rossing Uranium was was a company that actually, took on that challenge back in the days to create those economies of scale and really optimize the mining cost of the low-grade deposit. So, yes, exciting times for uranium, very good jurisdiction. So, thank you, Kuda.
I'd like to dwell on Pine and Anthony because you're in the same jurisdiction. And I've got my question for you, Pine, specifically, from everything that you've said there. Essentially, you're saying that the long-term fundamentals from what you're seeing, the consensus forecast is looking positive. Can you elaborate a bit on that for uranium?
Yeah, I mean, uranium is obviously a very interesting commodity. It's not like a gold and a copper, that you've got hundreds of, private companies that are getting into it. Uranium is a strategic commodity, and if you look at the world's production profile, you can essentially put it in that 70 or 80% of total production is actually controlled by countries. Those being Russia, Kazakhstan, China, and the sort of eastern regions. Only 20% of the global production is actually produced by, companies like Chemico, that's obviously public listed and privately owned. BHP out of Australia has got the Olympic Dam project. That uranium is actually a byproduct. It's not their main commodity. And then there's a few smaller players. But the rest is literally produced by company parastatals, like we see in Namibia with two big Chinese parastatals. So capital is not a problem. They're not really after trying to make profit. It's a strategic resource that just goes back to the mothership. And it's actually a scary place for the utilities to be in, because 70% of the world's consumption last year, as we call it, the uranium burn, was burned by the Western world, while 55% of the uranium currently produced and is going to increase is produced by the Eastern world. So there's a mismatch there, and what I believe is the Western world's going to wake up one day suddenly and then think, oh, where's our uranium going to come from? So that puts Namibia and companies like us that are still in private hands in a good opportunity to service that market. Namibia's ability to move 3 projects forward that's fully licensed. I believe in this cycle we will build 3 new mines, including our project, and we're basically ready to rumble. The whole world is waiting on the sort of Canadian Athabasca Basin, thing to happen. A lot of action happening there, but the reality there is, like Bernard said, if they have a new discovery today, it's going to take 20 years before that thing is in production, and we need the uranium. The supply gap is going to be there, 28, 29, 2030. There's a huge supply gap. I mean, even last year, the production versus burn, the replacement uranium that was produced is 20% less than what was actually consumed. So we are drawing down on inventories, and that trend continues.
Perfect. Anthony, you guys are in tin and tantalum, right? Personally, I feel that tantalum is one of those unsung commodities. The last project I worked on when I was on site was actually in Mozambique and Maripino, so tantalite is actually close to my heart, you know. But one thing people forget about is that in nearly every digital device we have, there's a certain portion of 4 to 5 grams is actually tantalite.
That's right.
And it's a very high value commodity. So would you like to tell us a bit more about the long-term fundamentals around that? Then after that, Pine has spoken a lot about how good Namibia is. We also want to hear from your perspective, because everyone voted that that's the best jurisdiction, so we might as well tell everyone what you're seeing on the ground.
Yeah, so we're lucky with our ore body. It's a polymetallic ore body, which means that we mine basically and put through the processing plant all of our run-of-mine material, but then we get different revenue streams. So the tin is the I don't want to say bedrock, but tin basically provides the cost cover. The tantalum comes associated with the tin, but we separate that as a magnetic separator at the end. It's going through a bit of a boom at the moment. I mean, the tantalum price is around about $180,000 a ton, so incredibly rare element, but not a rare earth that everyone's talking about. And then we've also got the byproduct of lithium that we're looking to bring on stream now. So to counter what Pine was saying, the geology in Namibia is characterized by these huge ore bodies that are relatively lowish grade, as Boris would always tell me on the tin side. But
Sorry.
my apologies. But if you start talking effective grade, when you start aggregating all the revenue benefits that you get from the multiple commodity streams, you start to all these deposits start to look attractive, and that's what we look for. Old mines, reworking what the old timers did, rethinking how you can extract value, similar to what I think.
I've got a mine for you.
Yeah.
Nickel, copper, cobalt.
You can't sell to me, Boris.
Damn.
No, so it's a different way of thinking of things. But what you do need first and foremost is an enabling environment. You need your regulators to understand that that not every ore body is the mother lode, and that it's just going to be this huge sort of panacea to solving the world's poverty problems. I saw the disdain that everyone had about the MPRDA and all of that. Namibia's got it right. They haven't changed their mineral bill. They're very accommodating for investment. I mean, I know that if we were at the Namibian Mining Expo, all the dignitaries, all the politicians would be sitting here in the front row and would be encouraging investment. I don't think we'd have the luxury of that here in South Africa. And it's an incredibly inviting jurisdiction. It's a very well educated, although very small population in terms of mining. You've got good infrastructure, although it tends to need upgrading in places. But everything that you want to develop a mine or numerous mines, as we are, we're hopefully going to get another 2 deposits up and running this year. But as long as no one records that, we're going to give it a crack. But we're very bullish on Namibia. We're very bullish that the suite of minerals that we've got and the polymetallic nature of our ore bodies, bodes very well for the future of Andrada, but also for the benefit of Namibian people and the Namibian economy.
Perfect.
Just in my defense,
Yeah.
I think Andy's done an extraordinary job of looking at every ton that comes out of that mine and saying, where does the value lie and where do we split it? And hats off to you, Andy.
Thanks a lot. Every pound's a prisoner, eh?
Indeed.
Boris, since you've spoken there,
Oh, dear.
talk to me about the new dispensation in Botswana. We've seen there's been a lot about the recent deal that was signed with Z.B.S. and how, after many years of stagnation, that actually finally was signed, and that actually brought, and I'm hearing from the people in Botswana, because we have an entity there, that there's sort of a new dispensation that's come about because of the new government that's come in. Are you seeing the same? How has your interaction with the government been? Are they more enablers now, or something else?
Look, I think when you get a blanket change of power, such as has happened in Botswana, which is unique in Africa and certainly possibly could be very useful in many other African countries, it takes a while for people to find their comfort zone and figure out exactly what their ministry requires and entails. But so far the interaction has been superb. They ask the right questions. They're looking at where the angles that they can help and get us over the line. And for them, the demise of BCL destroyed Sedibi Pikwe as a town. It's pretty much a ghost town. So for them as the new political entity to be able to revitalize that gives them a one-up on the previous dispensation. So it's always easier to come in and say, look, the previous crowd made a complete hash of it, and look what we've done. And they are looking to do it well. So currently it's great.
Perfect. Tim, you're in the rare earth space. You've got a lot of US funding. You've spoken a lot about how Angola was traditionally oil and gas. I mean, we built a lot of oil and gas facilities there in the old good days as Fluor. But you're seeing that this, in our conversations, you've mentioned that you're seeing a steady drive towards more on the mining side, right? So tell me, how is the impact of the US funding helping you guys, and what else are you seeing on the ground? Because definitely you're not going to end here. I know you're going to build another mine after this, So.
Look, I mean, in terms of Angola, having been through various cycles there over the last 25 years or so, what we've seen is a decade of consistency in terms of the environment that João Lourenço, the president, has created in moving away from the previous regime. It's been a big job for him. He's consistently applied himself. His ministers have dedicated themselves as well to it, particularly Diamantio and Asverio. The mining side of things has a new code from, well, it's not new anymore, it's 7 years old, and has been consistently applied in terms of getting people comfortable that oil and gas isn't the only industry that you can depend in terms of security of tenure, in terms of consistency of the contractual regime, etc. So I believe that the consequence of US investments into Angola, or the reason for US investment into Angola, is not just the Lobito corridor and access to critical metals out of the center of Africa. It's the consistency of the Angolan adoption of let's diversify our economy, let's create the necessary environment for not just mining but agriculture, tourism, etc. to flourish. They've got a very young population. 70% of people are under 25 or so. That's been a consequence of a burgeoning population since the Civil War ended 25 years ago. They all want jobs. They're hungry, they're well educated, and we're actually experiencing, I would say, one of the most positive routes of taking a project from exploration through to development that I've had anywhere in Africa. And I've been in this one way or the other for 40 years now.
For a very long time, yes. No, definitely hear you on that. Now, coming back to you, Tim, I'm just cognizant of the time there. So, as we discussed, so what are your greatest concerns and opportunities going forward? What do you see? Looking into the crystal ball, and Bernard, this is deliberate. Charles was talking about crystal balls last time we was on stage, so we're looking into the crystal ball now.
Concerns, I think there's been more than enough focus on that. Opportunities going forward, I mean, I touched on it, but it's been an absolute delight dealing with a political structure in Angola that has been supportive through a very difficult equity market period. They've been patient with us, and we're now poised to leap into the next phase. But the opportunity in terms of what this gap has given us over the last 2 years of waiting to conclude the finance for the project has been, we're now 90% Angolan staffed. Some absolute gems have emerged during that process. We've been able to push Geraldine Chamali to country manager from being a junior geologist, recently graduated from the UK. As one example, we've got several others on the geology side, on the ESG side, on the whole HSE side, And now we're starting to get on the engineering side as well in terms of our preparation for operations, readiness, and so on. And that, for me, is the most exciting, being able to deal with passionate people, tenacious, patient as well, and really enthusiastic about doing something for positive change in their country.
Amazing.
That's the biggest reason why I wake up in the morning and keep excited about these things. I'm dealing with some really good quality top people.
100%. And your contribution to legacy must be appreciated. Anthony, same question. Concerns, opportunities?
Yeah, Kuda, it's very easy as a CEO to get wrapped up in price forecasts and consensus pricing and it's very easy to change a number on an Excel spreadsheet and your project works. But at the end of the day, you've got to find a hole to dig the hole and sell some dirt cheaper than the next guy, and that's all it is really about mining, to be honest. So you just got to focus on what you can do, focus what's within your control, and then figure out how to backfill on all of the other noise in the background.
No, simple and straightforward. Yeah. Boris, your view.
Well, certainly, I find the world in a very uncomfortable place at the moment, and it does have major impact to us going forward. Our rollout horizons aren't 4 yearly; they're 10 to 15 years. So that is naturally always a concern. But the best way to mitigate it is to just get down and develop the most robust project you can. Make sure that you've checked the boxes and identified the risks that you think are there. I think having a broader commodity suite as opposed to a single commodity, following Anthony's sterling example, gives you, only time you get nothing you get something for nothing in investing is diversifying. And so for me that's great, is that nickel's in the toilet, okay, we've got some copper, we've got some PGEs, cobalt will carry a bit of the load, so that's very exciting. And to bring some life back into this Libya-Piqua area of the world, for me is what prime reason I'm doing this. 100%.
Finally with you, Pine?
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate that the long-term fundamentals of the uranium market is very solid. We know there's going to be a supply gap. We are well positioned with our nearly shovel-ready project, to take advantage of that. However, there is, in the small Namibian economy, there's currently 3 licensed uranium projects, all large-scale projects that needs to be built and developed. There's a Leo gold mine, Musino, that's just awarded their EPCM contract to Lycopodium, and they're kicking off. Now here, my neighbor is looking at 2 other projects that he wants to get up and going. So I'm a little bit concerned about the availability of resources for this, what we would call a bit of a uranium rust and new mines that's pushing ahead. And even the Naba hubs and the B2 Golds has got expansions and extensions. Some of the other uranium mines are, looking also at expansions. So I think that's going to be a challenge in Namibia with the limited resources, and holding on to your core team and making sure that you don't have that turnaround and people is going to be a challenge.
No, perfect. I think you've touched on something important which I've been having an interesting conversation with a couple of people outside, is that I think one of the big problems we have in our industry as a whole is that we're not attracting enough young people. And the median age in our industry is getting advanced. I don't want to put anyone on the spot by putting a number, but it becomes concerning because a lot of the plans that the world has in terms of green transition, just transition, and all of that, we need the skills. But if there are very few of us who are young who can actually carry that, will it happen? It's a major concern, but not for this conference. Nevertheless, Bernard, I'm done on my side. Over to you on the question side.
Thank you. You're yielding me some time, which is good because the audience is very interested in these companies and the topic. I think if I come back, perhaps Pine, to pick up on your concerns about resources capacity in Namibia, there was a specific question around power. Let me find it. Where will the power come from in Namibia, given the tiny generation base and that a few large mill motors could be 20% or more of national grid? You spoke generically. Is power but one of the things that you worry about?
Yeah, I think power is going to see quite a rapid growth, and the same on water. Namibia is a desert, and our mines will run off desalinated water. So before we can really get going, a second desalination plant needs to be built. That also requires huge quantities of power. So we do see, however, a rapid growth in solar for our country. And our project at the moment, we are actually considering to be completely off-grid. There's a German group that has developed a 30 megawatt hydrogen, solar combination plant right next to us as our neighbors. And they've just commissioned their pilot plant, and what they do is they actually produce iron from hydrogen instead of burning coal. They use the hydrogen to convert the iron ore into iron. And they're going completely off-grid, and they're going to sell green iron. And we are in discussions with them to actually, add our 30 or 50 megawatts, to their future big plan of 300 megawatts of solar and battery. And the power prices is going to be like 30% cheaper than connecting to the grid. So I get across the fence, pure solar uranium project. And that will be a first for the world. So that's interesting. And
you see, what I like about these passionate people is you ask them a question about Namibia and he talks about his company. I mean, you just cannot stop these people. I mean, Boris is going to chip in with bloody DRC next. Anthony, power specifically, have you got a solution?
Yeah,
without the detail of
No, so we tap off the grid. The power sort of is actually all hydropower in Namibia. About 60%, 40% is imported from South Africa. So there is a pressing need for different for diversification of that power source. Solar is being rolled out rapidly across the country. There are a number of different initiatives. There's also initiatives around this green hydrogen that's become very popular.
It features at their other conferences regularly.
Yeah, and then also wind. There's some sort of correlation between the wind and the solar that gives you enough green power, and that's the basis of the green energy or the green hydrogen production. So look, there are constraints. Absolutely, there always are. But if you've got grade and you've got an ore body, you backfill with whatever requirements you need on power and water.
I'm keen to stick with Namibia and get with your deep background in geology over generations.
Yeah.
I know where this question comes from. Is it easier to access the historical exploration information in Namibia? And which entity is the custodian of such data?
Yeah,
Can you go somewhere and get the data on these ore bodies?
Yeah, and that's what we've based all of our exploration on. So when we started our prospecting there, the idea was to pick up all the historic mines within the Eronga region, which is a pegmatite-rich region, and focus on which areas were mined historically. And the old timers were pretty good. I'm talking about the people beyond your age.
Where do you go to find this?
Yeah, no, but there is a repository. There is a Namibian survey, Namibian mine survey. So we got a lot of information from the old ISCOR data, the old Goldfields data, and I mean to recreate some of the drilling. So just for example, at Weiss, they did drilling on a 25-meter grid which, if you did that, no junior would ever consider doing a 25-meter grid drill spacing these days. But I mean, that's $60 million of data that you kind of pick up, and it's freely available in the ministry. So, it's things like that. Musa was talking about not having information at the council. The council is a custodian of the most amazing database of information. I mean, in my previous incarnation, we looked at the bushveld and the ore bodies there, and just by taking some of the historical data, we found one of the biggest vanadium deposits on the planet that wasn't even on a geological map. So, all of that historic data is very important, and I think it's very much an underutilized resource for junior miners.
Yeah, I'm sure the question came from Musa. He just didn't put his name to it. I've got two questions, and I'm not going to tell you my uncle worked at Oos. I mean, that dates me. That's 120 years ago. So two questions for Tim around Angola. The one is around, are you guys, and if not, why aren't you guys organized in a chamber of mines? Don't know where the question comes from, who asked that. And then secondly, was around a quick comparison, Angola jurisdiction to perhaps the competing ones, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana. Are you in a chamber of mines?
There have been discussions around, well, obviously, Ivanhoe, De Beers, Anglo, etc., Rio are all there, all at early stage exploration. We're probably the most advanced outside of ourselves, and one of the phosphate deposits up in Soya by another entity that's about to start development as well. So outside of the diamond side of things, who have their own real associations and so on, it's early days. But we have conversations at this point in time. But a lot of the activity at the moment is done through the kind of Chamber of Commerce activities that happen anyway for general business in Angola, of which there are several. So they are active, and particularly over the last couple of years, the Transparency Initiative has particularly gained momentum in Angola. They've been a participant of that, and the meetings are regular. All of the industry, the mining industry participates in that, whether it's mature diamonds or early stage exploration plays. So there's quite a lot of ongoing dialogue via one mechanism or not necessarily through a chamber per se.
Quick comparison, jurisdictions. Just say it's hot there, it's and
there's power, there's water, so it's not a desert. I've already told you, I'm very persuaded of the consistent application of the rule of law in Angola, and that for me, in terms of being an emerging place for elephant-type exploration processes to actually happen, where you've got 7, 8, 9 years before you're going to bring a big deposit anywhere near the book, is critical. And I think people are waking up to that now about Angola.
A brief question about your plans to go downstream. How far down the value chain are you going to go with your mixed rare earth oxide, I mean, I'm not going to read the whole question. How far are you just shipping to China?
At this point in time, we already have a study ongoing with DFC as to how far down from into separation of oxides and metallizations we can go in country in Angola. So that's what we're focusing on. It doesn't mean that it's a slam dunk at this point in time, but that's the agenda we're pushing. We're effectively an African project. At the moment, we're fully funded by a combination of AFC, Africa Finance Corporation, and ABSA, and the Angolan Sovereign Wealth Fund investing in themselves. So the US ambitions on its supply chain diversification are quite new in terms of driving the process of getting this mine going.
Boris, there's a question that I don't understand but it's just because I'm not supposed to understand the question.
And are you going to give it to me?
What is your company's appetite on the nickel resource in Angola? Are you following the developments? Clearly that makes sense to you, so answer the question if you understand it.
At this point, we've got our hands properly full in terms of developing what we need to develop. So I think it would be judicious to expand with additional projects. We must bring these up and running, get a positive cash flow, and then start looking further to spread the limited capital one can raise for these early stages. You've got to hold on to it and make sure you turn each dollar over a number of times before applying it somewhere else. So no, we naturally watch all the developments in nickel around the world. It's nice to see some coming into more responsible jurisdictions in Indonesia. I think that's been a complete disaster. I don't think it'll last terribly long. You can't strip mine an island for eternity. And the negative ecological aspects are going to start affecting everything else. So hopefully that winds up quite quickly and we get a bit of sense in the market.
And then a question, it's from me to Boris. Do you miss being fired at and sleep with the South African Defence Force defending your mine? I mean, do you miss that at all? This is the only man who goes into a place that no sane person would go. Talk about it, tell the world about it. I mean, he's a madman.
But Bernard, I disagree completely. I'm a complete coward.
What, that you're mad?
Maybe, but I'm a total coward, and we looked incredibly carefully at the project before we did it. And I think a lot of people actually don't understand the risk mitigating factors that we saw. And the one is, if you want to supply any type of operation, be it a military force, be it a mine, be it anything, you can't do it from the east in the DRC. We tried. So when I got the SMSs saying M23's in Kashaberi, the world's coming to an end, I said, sure. I said, look, in my opinion, the probability is that they'll make a go for Walikali because they need to stop Alphaman to make an impact on industry increases in negotiating position. However, to hold Walikali, they need to be resupplied. And the only things that will get through are bicycles and motorcycles. And you can't resupply an army with that. So that is a huge, I would have comfortably sat on the mine for that whole period. Oh, comfortably is probably an exaggeration, but I think the probability of that mine ever being taken out and you lose it is extremely low. The probability of interrupted cash flow, regrettably higher than I would have estimated it, but it has transpired. But it's been through what everybody said would be the terminal event.
I'm taking us off because Boris I'm making sure that you sit here, you've got a dream, you want to go somewhere, it's nice and remote, it's a fantastic ore body. You need to think through all of the risks and the mitigation around that. Mining takes you way out of Sandton, unfortunately.
Well, Tim and I worked together not long ago, and one of my greatest joys was walking down the roads in Stockholm, and all the Swedish ladies would fawn as Tim walked past. Now, I knew they were looking at Tim and not me, but it was great to be part of that. And then at Indaba, somebody said to me, "Is Tim your father?" So it shows you what junior mining does to you.
Can I ask you to take up your tool of mass democracy? We've got a person in this audience who is very irritated. He's the country's top geologist, so I need to respect him. He puts comments on the Q&A which is so flippin' extreme that I need to check with the audience whether his comments are true. So Musa says, not me.
Wow.
He says, where's Musa says? So I'm going to put a question to you. I need a yes or no answer from you. No? Musa says, the South African investment community and lawyers hate coal. Shame, man, Musa. Yes or no? Do the South African investment community and lawyers hate coal? I'm going to vote on behalf of 5 of us. Yeah. How do you want me to vote? So the statement is that there's a general hate towards coal. Is that true? I vote no, just to disclose my credentials or preferences.
It's a critical mineral now, isn't it?
Declared by him. I mean, so I rest my case. So what is this? This I feel victimized by the lawyers and the investors about, eh?
You're going to get a political answer again.
Always.
60-40.
This is South Africa. I mean, the results are in. Let's go and vote. We used to make that joke about Zimbabwe. Now we can make it about South Africa. The results are in. Let's vote. Why don't we go and have tea? Thank you very much. Excellent panel. I think it achieved exactly what we wanted to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kudakwashe.